Okay, we're diving into a story that honestly feels like it's pulled straight from a science fiction novel, but I promise you it's 100% true. This is the story of the Blue Man, and it tells us something really fascinating and kind of scary about the things we put into our bodies. Just take a second and really let that sink in. I want you to picture it. You wake up, you stumble into the bathroom, you look in the mirror, and your skin is turned blue. Not bluish from the cold, not a metaphor for being sad, literally, physically, undeniably blue, right? It's the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a comic book or a superhero movie, not in your own bathroom mirror. So the first, most obvious question is, how in the world does this happen to a real person? To get to the bottom of this, we've got to meet the man at the very center of this incredible medical mystery. His name was Paul Karasyn. For years, Paul lived his life with this striking blue-gray skin. And you can imagine, people didn't know what to make of him. They'd stare, they'd whisper, trying to guess the cause. Was he wearing some kind of crazy makeup? Was it for a movie? Some people were genuinely worried he might be suffocating. But the real reason was something nobody could have possibly guessed. So what caused this unbelievable transformation? It wasn't some rare, unheard of disease or a bizarre accident. In a really strange twist, it was something he willingly took every single day because he thought it was making him healthier. The culprit was a so-called health remedy, homemade colloidal silver. And yeah, this wasn't a prescription from a doctor or anything like that. It was a solution he made himself at home just by mixing microscopic silver particles in water. And here's the kicker, the real tragic irony in all of this. His intentions were completely good. Paul drank colloidal silver for years, genuinely convinced it was the answer to a bunch of his health problems. He was just trying to feel better. So this just raises a huge scientific question, right? How on earth can silver, a simple chemical element, permanently change the color of a person's skin? Well, the answer has a name. It's a rare condition called argyria. Argyria, that's the official medical term. Now, it's not really an illness in the way we usually think of one. It's actually a cosmetic condition, and it's caused by being exposed to silver over a long, long time. What happens is these tiny silver particles build up and get stuck deep inside your body's tissues, and it just happens to be most noticeable in the skin. The way it works is just fascinating. It's almost exactly like developing a photograph, but on your own skin. So first, Paul ingested all those silver particles. Then, because his body had no way to break them down or get rid of them, they just got deposited in his skin. And then came the final critical step, sunlight. The UV light from the sun triggered a chemical reaction with all that silver, basically developing it, just like an old photo negative, and permanently staining his skin that signature blue-gray color. Now, you might be thinking, is silver super toxic? Well, no, not really. Not in small doses. The real problem here is something called bioaccumulation. See, our bodies just don't have a way to process it or flush it out. So every single dose Paul took just stayed there, building up in his tissues year after year until it finally hit that tipping point. And here's the thing. This change wasn't temporary. Not at all. It was permanent. So let's talk about what this actually meant for Paul's life and his really unusual, irreversible legacy. His completely unique appearance turned him into a media sensation pretty much overnight. He was on all the big talk shows, and the world got to know him as the real-life Papa Smurf. You know, he seemed to take all the attention in stride. He'd even joke about his skin. But underneath it all, he had become a living, breathing, cautionary tale. When you really boil it all down, Paul Karasyn's story serves as this permanent, very public reminder of one simple but incredibly powerful idea. His case just perfectly highlights a critical difference that we all forget sometimes. Natural does not automatically mean safe. We hear that word, natural, and our brains immediately think harmless. But silver is a completely natural element, right? This story is such a stark reminder that just because something comes from nature, it doesn't mean it's safe to consume. Paul's story is definitely an extreme example, but it's such a powerful one. And it leaves us with a really important question we should probably ask ourselves in our own lives. What other so-called natural remedies out there might be carrying hidden and maybe even permanent risks?